Back to the Chiefs, because Andy Reid talked about this season opener against the Broncos, and there is some speculation that, hey, would the league really schedule Chiefs-Broncos prime time week 1? Would they really do that if Mahomes wasn't coming back? Now, I know that the games after week 1 are cupcakes. The Colts without Daniel Jones, the pathetic Dolphins, and likely Mendoza and the Raiders. But here's what Reid said about the entire process.
People go, well, he's ahead of schedule, or is he ahead of schedule? I'm going, who made the schedule? I mean, everybody's different, right? And so let's just take it day by day. And nobody's spending more time than he is rehabbing. He spends 7 hours here going through it, and he hasn't missed a day, and he wants more, and all the things that are Patrick Mahomes. And but let's see where we're at as we go forward. We get a little bit closer to the game. Roger Goodell probably used this as motivation for the two quarterbacks. Both of them have been banged up a little bit.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Reid and the Chiefs bouncing back? I know the schedule is kind of backloaded. I don't love that if I'm the Chiefs.
No.
But you get some runway to get a good start. They should be like 6-4, 7-3-ish.
Well, what happens is, defensive players statistically get hurt more often than offensive players. So if you're going to face great quarterbacks, you'd like to face them early, right? The offense isn't quite in sync maybe, but they face great quarterbacks on the road, back-to-back, as you're getting into the later part of the season, and guys get dinged up, so you're down personnel. So, I think they'll be really good. I have the Chargers winning the division, and I think Kansas City and Denver battle. Denver's schedule early is it's like punishing. Yeah. Almost intentionally punishing.
One thing that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, you see that week 5 bye for the Chiefs? I was doing some bye week analysis. You don't want the early bye. That's obvious, right? The season is grueling. The injuries. You want to be rested late bye. Colin, 11 of the last 13 Super Bowl champs had the bye week 8 or later. You want the late bye. Yeah. You don't want that early one. So that doesn't really help the Chiefs at all. And this is an older team on defense, and the young guys are like unproven.
I think it's a good point. I don't think Kansas City loved the early bye. I know they didn't. Right? So they got an early bye. That's not good for older teams, and great quarterbacks on the road, middle to late.
Yeah.
To me, that's as tough a schedule based on the roster you have as there is in the league.
Okay. Let's talk about this. I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes' health because that's what Andy Reid was bringing up. And then I also really want to talk about the schedule because I think there's some really interesting conversations here. And super duper Kansas City Chiefs and Mahomes fan, Sean Brennan, asked my opinions about the whole injury with Mahomes and kind of all the noise that we're hearing. And so, I want to be able to unpack that as well. But before I get into it, please, Kansas City Chiefs fans, do not forget to subscribe and watch the full length of the video. When you guys do that, views go through the roof. Subscribers go through the roof. And it's not about chasing views. It's not about chasing subscribers. It's about being able to create Kansas City Chiefs content that is actually unbiased and grounded and rooted in reality, because Chiefs fans more than anything these days get some of the most insane, swung content out there. It's either absolutely trolling, doom and gloom, everything is awful, or they're gassing you up because they want your views and subscribers. And it's I'm looking to have just real, honest conversations, man. That is ultimately what I'm looking to do. And so, when you guys watch the video and subscribe at the same time, it just creates such an avalanche effect. It really just goes such a long way. So, please do consider subscribing. And slow. WLY, but surely, we are starting to get, I believe, higher and higher quality Kansas City Chiefs fans that are, not just the newer fans who are just all everything is amazing, everything is so perfect, and we're also again trying to balance out just the automatic, well, Kansas City Chiefs are awful, they're trash, it's over for them. And so, really the first thing that I wanted to talk about is the whole idea about the bye. And we always hear all of these random things. Oh, well, the 10 of the last 12 teams this and 15 of the last 20 that. And it's like, when you have Mahomes and Andy Reid, any of what of the things that have happened in the past in terms of like what's normal for other teams means like absolutely nothing to me. When you are historically gifted and historically great, when you're Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, it's just like that's the thing for other teams. Like I'm not going to use the same lens and the same frame of reference for what the Seattle Seahawks needed to do to win a Super Bowl and say this is what the Kansas City Chiefs need to win a Super Bowl. It doesn't land for me whatsoever. So, I always like if it's a different team, if it's a more I don't want to say average because any team that's winning a Super Bowl is going to be like most likely not average. But it's just like there's just different rules. There's different rules when you're Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, again, to be clear because it's like this is what I just kind of preached about having unbiased and grounded conversations. It doesn't automatically mean that it's nothing. It doesn't automatically mean that it's like, oh, it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Therefore, none of this matters because they're amazing, they're superheroes, and you know, they just transcend everything. It's like, that's not the case either, right? Tom Brady benefited from an easy division, and Tom Brady benefited from home field advantage, and first-round buys, and all of that, right? I forget, it's like his ability to get to a Super Bowl plummeted when he didn't get the first-round bye or whatnot, right? So, it's just like those things still affect even the GOATs, even the best of the best, but like it's like to make it maybe a little bit more practical of Tom Brady, it's like Tom Brady doesn't have a first-round bye. I don't know if they're going to get to the Super Bowl this year. It's like, well, they have a great team, you have Bill Belichick, you have Gronk, Julian Edelman, etc. It's like, I'm not going to just use this arbitrary, well, it's easier to get to a Super Bowl with a bye, therefore I'm going to now use that as fuel to kind of like pull back the New England Patriots. You know, obviously that's a dated example, but it's just we've seen it play out, so it's a little bit more clear-cut. So, I'm not go. ING to do that to the Kansas City Chiefs. It means very little to me. And you know, snorts, I don't know. I mean, you can make the argument that here's what's interesting, especially because Mahomes is being injured and whatnot. And I were going to talk about the injury a little bit more practically, but for me you can make the argument that like playing those better quarterbacks later in the season is better because Mahomes will feel better, he'll feel more comfortable, that offense will feel more connected, he will have more trust in his body. Really, first and foremost, the process of Patrick Mahomes is going to have to trust his body. And actually, I just made a video about Caitlin Clark the other day because she actually said it perfectly. And it's just like she summed it up absolutely perfectly. Like, in the beginning, you're not really as in tune with your body as you would think. You would think, oh, an elite athlete, like they know their body. And it's really not until you get injured that you really start to understand how your body works. Because as Andy just said, oh, he's spending hours a day in recovery and in rehab and PTs and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, and you're having conversations with them for hours and hours a day, like every single day. So, like, you're learning about how your body works in a way that you just never really understood. Even despite being an elite world-class athlete, like it's pretty interesting. It's really not you get banged up and get injured and have to now pretty much relearn how to do things. And you start to realize like, oh, like my knee's messed up, but like I also need to work on my glutes, or like, why am I working on my hips right now? What does this have to do with this? Like, well, this stabilizes this, and this stabilizes that. And you have a muscle imbalance here, right? And it's just like, you learn stuff that you like just had no idea. You also get to experience your body in a way that you just never did. Like, Patrick Mahomes' body feels differently now. His knee feels differently now. And now every type of tightness, every ache and pain and stiffness and this or that, it's like you have to now kind of like trust that like some of this is just here to stay, some of this is like actually, yeah, this is a signal of like, okay, you're doing too much or whatever. And some of it is just, you know, I don't know. We got to like kind of figure it out, right? And it's just like, there's a reorienting. Like you have to retrust your body, and you can become, and this is what Caitlin Clark brought up, that there could be like almost like a hyper-awareness. And I definitely have gone through phases with my injuries where there's like you feel everything now. And that's how I am with my body now. It's like, I understand how the body works so much more than I ever did. So, it's just like, any ache and pain or this or that, I'm like, well, is it because there is tightness? Is it this? Is it nerve activation? Is it a ligament? Is it a bone? And it's just like, my mind can go in a million directions. And so, like, that is part of the process for Patrick Mahomes. It is a very bizarre situation, and I know Patrick Mahomes has felt larger than life, and as strong and as elite as any human being could ever feel, right? Someone like Patrick Mahomes is like the closest you could ever get to feeling like an actual real-life superhero. And then he got injured so much that he literally couldn't even move his knee, right? And it is one of the most like you get your surgery, you go under, and it is like one of the most jarring things ever, cause you just know something is not right with my leg right now. And then it's like even when he got injured the first time, obviously he needed help, needed support, but like in an absolute mayday situation where like zombie apocalypse, like he would have been able to find a way to like, I don't know, crawl to help, right? He would have found some way to survive. As soon as you come out of surgery, you are the most fragile you could ever imagine. You know immediately, and it is like being born again where you're just like, my body's different. Like I am at the mercy of every single person around me right now. And it is jarring. It is absolutely jarring, and you face a reality that, again, even though Patrick Mahomes, of course, has been injured before and have had some. It's just different when you have a major injury, and especially a major knee injury. Like everything just feels different. And it's going to continue to feel different. And that process alone takes a really long time, even when he's playing. Even by week 2, 3, 4, 5, it's just like it's still going to be on his mind. It might never leave his mind. It's never left my mind, and it certainly has never left Travis Kelce's mind. You know, he's famously talked about that, and it's a quote that I always bring up all the time because it's one of my favorite quotes of ever, honestly, but especially out of an athlete where he's like, I've had 10 surgeries, and not a day goes by that I don't feel all 10 of them. And that is now going to be a much more prominent and newer existence for Patrick Mahomes. And even if he 100% makes an absolute bona fide full recovery, it's like I'm telling you right now how he sleeps, how his leg feels the next day, it's like that will always be different. That will always, even if he can run just as fast and cut just as quick as he ever has been able to, it is still be different. It will still be different. It will be more sensitive to the weather when it's a little bit colder and the scar tissue can swell up a little bit. It's like it's just going to be different, and it's all part of the process of him becoming, more and more comfortable. And as for the scheduling, right? 'Cause Andy was kind of talking about like, who makes the schedule, this or that. Do not get wrapped up in the whole like, he's ahead of schedule, this, that. It's just I've had multiple doctors. Actually, my first knee surgery I ever had, I remember the doctor was like, you're healing unbelievably. You're like 8 weeks ahead of schedule. And it was just like, that's amazing. That's because I'm an elite athlete and my body I'm really healthy and I take physical therapy serious. And I'm like, I do all the things. And like, at the end of the day, it didn't matter at all. I'm just telling you straight up. And this is the day I had a surgeon who did surgery on, world-class athletes and NHL athletes and what, and it's just like, and I was like, oh, this, like I'm healing faster than anyone, right? I'm like, I'm way ahead of schedule. And it's what he straight up said to me. He's like, you are well ahead of schedule right now. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. Right? I'm an elite athlete and I got great genes and this and that. And and I put in the work and I eat healthy and this, that. And it was like it didn't matter. Didn't have any effect on anything. It really didn't. It truly didn't. And I think sometimes 'cause even Andy said, oh, he's doing Patrick Mahomes things. He's working as much as he ever could and more than anyone else out there. And it's just like, don't get tripped up by that stuff. First off, I expect Patrick Mahomes to put in the work to heal himself, just like I expect any elite athlete to do. I did it myself and I was not trying to get back into the pros in that moment of time, right? Like it was just shredded up my knee, needed to get surgery and then there you go, right? And so it's just like you're going to put in the work. I expect it. Unfortunately, when players get injured, it's often used to kind of like Leonize them to increase the legend. He's healing faster than anyone has ever healed and look what he's already doing. And that's why I scoffed at the highlight or the little video of like Patrick Mahomes like he's like doing I don't know what he was doing like jumping jacks or whatever he was and it was just like they were like look what he's already doing and it's just like again like that doesn't I promise you it's like that doesn't mean like anything I give it really doesn't at the end of the day. The only thing to really be on the lookout for is like a setback and that's why it on the opposite end anytime someone has like a cleanup surgery or a desk that's always downplayed. People are always like no that's routine or that's normal that's this and that's what was happening with Bo Nix and then it's like yes and no, not quite well he had an injection. Well, of course he's going to get an injection. It's going to help with this that and the third and it's like yeah and it's just to me that's what makes that sounds the alarm or that's I'm more interested in those types of moments. Not oh he's so ahead of schedule or he's putting in all the work and he's doing that at 7 hours a day every single day. It's like yeah, great. I get it. I expect that. It's like be more on the lookout for like are there any setbacks or is there any other like secondary surgeries or he got an injection or he had to get this drain. It's like that to me is more of a signal of something than any of the other stuff. The other stuff to me ends up being such noise. It really is. That's my own personal experience with injuries as well as just my own personal observations of all of these athletes getting injured. I also think that when it comes to Patrick Mahomes the stakes if we can compare it to Bo Nix and two completely different injuries with two completely different recovery timelines and recovery just structure in terms of like what you do. Bo Nix's situation and Patrick Mahomes' situation just by virtue of who Mahomes is and who Bo Nix is they could not be any more different. Like Patrick Mahomes is an absolute bona fide proven billion-dollar asset, right? Like, it's just completely different. It's just like, this is the Patrick Mahomes. If they thought, you know what? It's better for you to actually sit for an entire year, which I'm not saying it is, but let's just say that. They were like, you know what? It's actually probably just better for you to like not play at all. That way we know that your knee is 100% reinforced. You are back to being 100%. We recommend that. It's like, you're going to more likely do that with Patrick Mahomes because it's literally Patrick Mahomes. With like a Bo Nix or a wide receiver or a running back, it's like, buddy, like, you're not Patrick Mahomes. You're not Patrick Mahomes. You're not Tom Brady. You're not Peyton Manning. You're not LeBron James. Like, it's just different rules for you. It's like, you got to get out there. If you just sit for a whole year and don't play, it's like, we might draft another quarterback, right? We're like, I don't know. You've now been banged up multiple times. It's just like, you're not as important. We can find another version of you. We can find another wide receiver. We can find another quarterback. We can find it's like, you can't just find another Patrick Mahomes around the corner, different process entirely, even if we're just looking at two quarterbacks. It's like Patrick Mahomes is a legitimate 3-time Super Bowl winner, all-time great, all-time special talent, billion-dollar asset, right? It's like Patrick Mahomes could theoretically have 2 years fully off. I guarantee you the Kansas City if they said, listen, it's going to take him 2 years, but once that he'll be great. He'll be ready to get after it. The Kansas City Chiefs will be like, it's not ideal, but we LL do it. If the same option was presented to the Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, they would say, we're not doing that. We're just absolutely straight up not doing that. We're going to draft another quarterback. We're sorry. We'd love for you to get there, but we're just not doing it. And then Bo Nix would be like, okay, I got to do everything I can to get back on the field as quickly as possible. Blah, blah, and it's just a different trajectory entirely. And, Sean, the guy who I said before, the Kansas City Chiefs fan, longtime season ticket holder, so he knows a thing or two about the Chiefs. He said I really enjoyed your insights into Bo Nix's injury and follow-up surgeries, which I definitely talked about a lot more length. He said, but, this is another video where you seem incredulous about Mahomes' recovery. Do you think everything is just noise, or is there a real chance he could be ready by week 1? Is that even possible given the timeline from the injury? Genuinely curious about your thoughts. Then he went on to say in this video, for example, it was Mahomes doing jumping jacks, and everyone was freaking out, and you were pretty dismissive about it, which is true. Anytime it's been brought up, your main reaction has been classic, okay. I'm curious with your experiences what you think the process realistically will look like, and if he is ahead of sched. And how ready he could realistically be by week 1 given the timeline of the injury. And again, this is where the reason why I laughed about things like the jumping jacks and everything, cause it's like I said earlier, it essentially means nothing to me because it's just that type of stuff just means so little. It means so little for at the end of the day of are you going to be able to be the Patrick Mahomes on the football field week 1? And in terms of can he be ready, will he not be, it's I believe he can be ready, but is it in the best interest for him to be ready? Cause again, this is Patrick Mahomes, and that's why from the jump, as soon as he got injured, everybody was well, look what happened with Adrian Peterson. Look what happened with this. Look what happened with this guy. This guy. And it's just everybody's different. Everyone has different, situations. First off, not all tiers are created equally, and what again, the importance of Patrick Mahomes is just so different. It is just so different, and we know Patrick Mahomes is going, all out to recover. And also, there are different ways to, expedite, recovery these days, right? It used to just be okay, we're just going to cut you up and, stitch you up and there you go. And it's even now things like Achilles, right? How you have the internal bracing and, why? Oh, you have, PRPN and stem cell, you have all this different stuff that you can do these days that can definitely, help with the recovery process and whatnot. And I think that's, even an unknown right now, but that's why to me it was always a little bit of a fool's errand to try to figure out exactly when Patrick Mahomes is going to come back. And even when he comes back, what version are we going to see from the jump? It's a little bit of a learning process and that's why again, all the other stuff is noise to me. Andy Reid being oh, well, he's working harder than he's doing more than anyone else. And it's funny because Andy kind of contradicted himself because at first he's well, who makes up the scheduling, right? Everyone's different. And then he goes and says, no one's doing more than Patrick Mahomes. And I was what does that even mean? Other people that have also got surgery. How do you know? How do you know what the person in New Mexico is doing right now or the person in New Jersey is right now? So it's what does that mean? And a lot of times when you're doing 7 hours of, therapy or whatever of treatment, it's a lot of that is not you actually really doing anything. You can't work out 7 hours a day. You definitely can't. And you're not recommended. So a lot of that could just be him literally just laying on a table or a bed, and getting stim, right? The stuff that kind of, if you ever had it, like it could be like muscle contraction or it'll feel like it's like, for those of you who never had stim, it'll feel like it's like your foot's asleep or something like that, right? It's like tingling. And it's like he could just be doing that for like 2 hours a day. And it's like, see, he's been doing recovery for 2 hours today. And it's like, yeah, sure, like I suppose. But again, I'm sure he's getting all the things done and doing all of it, and getting after it for sure. As I've told you guys a million times, I've obviously had a million injuries and a million different surgeries. I think I'm up to like 6 surgeries now at this point or whatever. But I don't have access to have physical because its insurance only covers so much. So it's like the most I had was, every other day or something like that for a couple hours a day, right? He has access to definitely have hours and hours a day every single day, right? So, what that can do will help too, but you also can't rush recovery, either. Can you help get that mobility there and the range of motion? Can you expedite that and whatnot? Sure, but at the end of the day, the actual healing process itself, the actual integrity of it, you can only expedite that so much. Like your body's are going to be healed or not. If anything, a lot of the times that you can be like ahead of schedule. Like for instance, when the one doctor said that I was ahead of schedule, it was because my range of motion was so much, was already closer to what it was pre-injury than not. And that's because a lot of those injuries, a lot of the exercises that you can do at home for instance and not just wait for physical therapy is just kind of like something as little as like, when I first got my when you get your knee surgery, it's like you can barely bend your knee like this. Like this is as much as you can go. And so part of it is just like you're just going to lay in bed and just do this. And then like little by little you do this, that, and it's just little by little. And this is like over like, days and weeks. And it's like, yeah, that's something that if like you have the drive and the determination to just keep doing it non-stop, it's like, yeah, sooner rather than later you can now get a more full range of motion. But that doesn't mean that the actual internal injury itself is now expedited. It's like, yes, you're working on the scar tissue and that's all sort of thing with scar tissue. Scar tissue gets laid down in the pattern that it is. That's why, and they didn't used to always do this, but they realized that you can actually do physical therapy during the healing process. And I've had surgeries that had different recovery processes where one of them was like, we are going to immobilize you for 6 weeks straight and you're doing nothing because we just want to make sure that this injury heals. When I've had other surgeries and other recovery, treatments where it was like, no, literally the moment you come out of surgery, we are going to start the recovery process. And the difference in scar tissue and in mobility that I had, like the range of motion, was like absolutely night and day. Absolutely night and day. It's like no question about it. The one surgery was absolutely brutal because trying to start the recovery process 6 weeks where the scar tissue is already laid down in a fixed pattern rather than the range of motion that I need it to be in. The amount that they have to work, there's moments that your physical therapy is just lean like they're just putting their weight on you because they're just trying to like break this up and get this. Whereas in a prior surgery, it's like, we're going to have you do little things like this just to start that process. And so it's like those are the things that someone like a Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to go all in on, and bring up his strength as quickly as possible, but it's just like what is like the actual integrity of the injury itself. It's like that ends up being the ultimate, unknown that the whole ahead of schedule that, he's already doing this, he's already doing that. It's like, again, to me is more, a little bit more of a fool's errand. I always went on this from the moment Patrick Mahomes got injured, I was like, I'm optimistic he's going to make a full recovery and he's going to be great. But the actual timeline itself, zero idea. He's obviously going to put in the work. He's obviously going to do all the things that he needs to do. He wants to be great. He wants to be special. He wants to be the GOAT. He's going to do all the things that he needs to do. And the rest is just kind of wait and see. And like I said before, just wait for any setbacks. Oh, he's getting a routine, he's getting a cleanup, he's getting this, he's getting that. It's like that matters more to me than anything else. So, hopefully that made sense. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. Did I talk about the schedule enough? I forget if I talked about the enough schedule. I don't need the schedule. I'll just say it real quickly. I don't need the schedule as anything crazy in either direction. Again, I get it, the Bills, the Rams, the Bengals, and whatnot. Obviously, you're going to have to play the Chargers there in your division. Okay, you have the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl winning team. Obviously, you're going to have to play the Broncos. You have games with the Dolphins and the Raiders, and the Falcons and the Cardinals. Like it just kind of seems par for the course. So, perfectly mixed skidoo. Lul. You have some tough games, you have some easy games. You have an early bye, for sure. Patrick Mahomes, when is he going to be back? If he does come back week 1 and he's kind of trying to refamiliarize himself with his body and, you know, the aches and pains that are now going to be with him. Incredibly forgiving schedule outside of the Broncos week 1, but, you know, you do have the Colts and the Dolphins and the Raiders. Then you have the bye. Then you know, Chargers, there you go. So, I don't know. But if they were in a weird situation where Patrick Mahomes doesn't come back until, and again, this is perfectly made up week 6, right? He misses the first 4 weeks, but then you have the bye. It's like, okay, we can make the argument that they had that schedule set up cause then it's like easier for Justin Fields to beat, you know, the Colts and the Dolphins. So, I don't know. I'm not going to try to think too much into it, and I don't know how much the NFL can really be able to be like. We know Patrick Mahomes is going to be ready by week 1. Therefore, this is the way how we're setting up this schedule. I get it. Because on the surface it feels that way. You're like, well, wait. No, you're not.